Hey, this is Alex Lindsay, and I'm going to show you how to take advantage of your camera's ISO to take photos in the dark. Right here on the lab with Leo Laporte.
Good to see you and welcome. It's time for the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. This is the show where we explain how technology works. We show you how to buy it, how to use it once you've bought it, what to do with it, you know, because I think a lot of times people buy expensive technology and they
like 1%.
They have no idea what to do with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Abraham.
Hello.
I like your shrug.
Thank you. I've been telling you about shrugs.
I just learned what a shrug is. It's like a shrunk sweater.
Like a micro cardigan.
It's a tiny sweater.
Yes. It has no purpose apart from it looks quite nice.
It's cute, actually. Yeah, I really like it. It's like a little mini cape. You think capes will come back?
Ponchos did.
Ponchos did?
Ponchos came back about a couple of years ago.
My great humiliation in high school, my mom was a weaver, and I always had to wear a hand-woven poncho in high school.
See, now that would be funky.
Now it would be funky. Then, you know, this was the 70s, it was funky, but it was still a little, I don't know. You see, that's really been the story of my life. I've been a geek since. That's it.
It's that poncho.
My kids look at pictures of me in high school and they go, "Dad, you were such a geek. Were you on the math team?" I said, "No, I was on the chess team." And they go, "Oh, you were such a geek." All right, this is a show for geeks and non-geeks alike. I'm the geek. You don't have to be. I'll explain how all this stuff works. Episode 174. Alex Lindsay is going to show you how a simple setting on your camera can really improve low light performance. As he said, take pictures in the dark.
Okay.
Jacob Tran is back. He teaches kids how to program video games. He's going to show something he calls generative art.
Okay.
Using Flash. Actually, really cool stuff. Rick Yeager is going to show you how to become an invisible man. That's what I should have had. I could have just be a guy floating in a poncho.
A floating poncho, that's lovely.
A little Photoshop magic coming up, but the most important part of our show is you, our callers. Let's get our first caller on.
We have a lovely caller on the line. We have Kim from Prince Rupert in BC, and she's asking a question about how to plot the journey of her pregnancy online.
Oh, hi Kim. Thank you, Kate. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am great. So you're having a baby.
Yes, our first.
Oh, congratulations. It's so exciting.
I know.
When are you due?
August 10th.
Oh, you got a little time.
Yeah, a little time.
So you would like now to kind of plan ahead for putting baby pictures online, that kind of thing?
Yes, and I'd also like to sort of plot my pregnancy. Most of my relatives live in Ontario.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be nice for them to be able to sort of keep up with how I'm doing and how I'm getting and stuff.
In fact, you know, I see these all the time on Flickr where people will document, sometimes even as a movie out of a succession of stills, document the pregnancy, and then they start taking pictures of their kids every year, and then you could see the kid growing up. And I think, boy, I wish I'd planned ahead. Yeah, but by now it's over. it's over. So I'm glad you're thinking about this now. You know, we have somebody here who's a proud papa, brand new baby. So how old is Malik? Is it Malachi?
He's 8 weeks.
8 weeks old.
Yeah.
We've got the world famous Alex Lindsay is here. So, you know, and Alex is like Mr. Content. He's a photographer. I imagine he's found some pretty good ways of sharing pictures of Malachi. Is it Maliki or Malachi?
It's Malachi.
Malachi, okay.
And the way that I do it, I have to admit, I'm not a big web guy. You know, I take lots of photos.
You
do lots
don't
of
really want to be doing a website.
No, so I used, and it depends on what application you're using. My brother uses Flickr for a lot of his stuff.
Flickr's a great choice.
I use iWeb. You know, I just simply...
So I could go online and look at a website with iWeb?
Well, yeah. So mine, mine's I think at web.mac.com/Alex Lindsay.
Okay.
And that is I'm in iPhoto and I just say I want to put this stuff on the web page. And literally, I just select a group of photos, and it creates an RSS feed.
Isn't this great?
And so what happens is that RSS feed now, anytime I add something to that folder, it automatically uploads that to iWeb. So people who are going to that page, you'll see my updating.
It's automatic.
It's automatic, so I don't have to do anything.
Wow.
To have that updated.
And they can subscribe to it, so they can automatically get the updated photos. It's taking a little while to read this because the files are fairly large. Now, in order for this to work, you have to be a Mac user. Are you a Mac user?
No.
You're not, Kim. Okay.
So now the other one is like Flickr has a lot of auto uploaders.
Yep.
So you can have applications that will upload to Flickr. Same thing. You can have people subscribe to it. They can go to the page. You can be updating those things. And my brother uses that a lot, and he's really happy with it.
I'm going to say a couple of things that work very well in Windows. One is Windows Live, which is Microsoft's new experimental pages. If you go to live.com, they have photo sharing up there, and that's very similar to what Alex just described, where you upload stuff to that and it can be seen everywhere. Also, there's a great program, and I think this might be the one I'd recommend. It's absolutely free from Google, called Picasa. Now, one of the nice things about Picasa is it's a photo album program. So as you take pictures, you'll put them on your PC, you'll organize them with Picasa, but you can also share them with others through email, prints, and on the web. And that's one of the nice things about Picasa. This is absolutely free. And what you can do is very similar to what Alex is talking about, which is create albums that you can share privately, which I think sometimes is what you want to do. You don't want everybody to see these pictures, but you can also share them publicly if you want.
Okay.
Another thing a lot of people do is they create blogs. Do you have any inclination to do something like that?
I was thinking about blogs too, yeah.
You know, my good friend Megan Maroney, who now has twin boys and a 4-year-old daughter, started a mommy blog called Jumping Monkeys, and originally it was about to track her pregnancy and share it with her friends and family. It then became about photos, and now as she's a mommy, she actually is making it more public. It's a way for her sharing, you know, her experiences and what's going on. So a blog is another great way. So lots of pictures you'll find on here, and you can see she's got a photo sharing. This is called Picto Browser, so she could just embed this into the blog, and you can look at pictures of the kids, which is great. A blog takes a little more effort than doing it yourself. If you're going to do a blog, there are two sites I really like. One is Vox, VOX.com. Vox is very simple, so if you don't want to start to think about all this, Vox makes it easy to upload movies and pictures. It's a free blogging system. So it's a very simple system to use, and it has privacy levels, which I think are very important. You can have public, friends, or family, which means you can have the most private pictures. You know, the pictures of the birth or things you don't want anybody but family to see. You can lock those down. So Vox is really good for free blogging, and I think is going to give you all the tools you want. This is for somebody who doesn't want to, you know, I don't want to think about it. I just want to upload pictures. I want to upload videos.
I'll probably be busy enough when the baby arrives.
You will be. And I've told a number of new parents about Vox, and they seem to be very happy with it. The only negative about Vox, the only thing I'm not crazy about with Vox, is everything's stored on their servers. Now, that's good because you don't have to have a server. You don't have to pay for a server. It's all free. You know, there's some ads, but they're very, you know, there's subtle ads. You can see here there's a Netflix ad right at the top. It's very subtle like that. They're all free, but, you know, it's all on their server. So you want to make sure you keep copies locally and do backups because it's a little hard to move it off their server if you decide you want to go somewhere else. I think Vox is a very good choice.
All the photos.
Yeah, I mean, you know, these guys are great. They're going to be around for a long time. You know, I know them. I really like what they do, and I think they do a great job. So if you don't want to go, you know, Picasa would be a good thing if you wanted to kind of have local albums that then you share it on the web, and it's just photos. If you want to do more, like write, put videos up, you know, kind of share more of what's going on, I think Vox is a really good choice. And what you should do is start it now. Say, you know, I'm in my second trimester, and here's how it's going. And you could upload pictures of the sonograms. You could you know, and you could tell your family about it now. To comment on it, they have to join Vox. It's free for them to do so, but it is one more step for them to go through if they want to comment. But that's how they keep stuff private.
Okay.
And I think that that's probably a good thing.
Okay, that would be great.
I think this is probably, you know, of all of them, the most complete solution, the easiest to use.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe starting my own website, but that would probably be a little time-consuming.
You can always do that, and with WordPress.com or like Megan did, but then you become a webmaster and you're going to learn more. Start with Vox. I think it's a very good way. It's a personal blogging service that's perfect for new parents, I think.
Okay, great.
Congratulations, Kim. That's wonderful.
Leo.
I bet you're really excited.
Yeah, could we get a signed picture of you?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll sign it to you and the baby.
That would be great. And then we can have our little keepsake album.
Oh, I hope you have a nice little geek. Do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
Not yet.
Are you going to find out, or is it going to be a surprise?
Well, I think we may ask.
It's hard not to.
I know.
You're in there, and the doctor says, well, I can tell what it is. Do you want to know? And it's like, my wife and I on our first child, we said, no, we don't want to know. And then I caught her in the bathroom trying to read the records because they had marked, they had crossed it out, holding it up to the light. I said, honey, if we want to know, we should just ask. So we ended up finding out both times, and it was fine. Hey, have a wonderful, wonderful pregnancy, and congratulations and good luck. Okay, Kim?
Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, too.
We're going to take a break. Coming back, actually something you should know about Kim, too. Taking pictures in low light. You don't want to flash the baby. ISO, that's the magical term. We'll show you how to use your digital camera to improve your low light pictures when the lab continues. Stay right here. Alex and I are looking at cameras. Welcome back to the lab. Leo Laporte here from the Pixel Corps. Alex Lindsay. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
We're talking about something called ISO. Now, I remember in film,
right,
when I used to shoot film, you'd get ASA.
Right.
You'd get ASA 400 would be kind of a faster film.
Right.
You're going to shoot outside ASA 50. That was the film speed. How much?
And it's very much ISO is trying to be exactly the same as far as of how sensitive it is.
Okay. So the higher the number, the more sensitive, the more light, the less light it needs. The more sensitive to light it is.
Exactly. And the big thing with when you're dealing with this is when we deal with film, we put a roll of film in, and you were stuck with 400 ASA.
Yeah, and you had to set the camera, and that was it.
And so what's now people are just starting to really get their head around, photographers who used film for a long time, is the idea that, you know what, I can just change my ISO as I'm working. So I can go to, I can shoot 100 ASA on this image and 1600 ASA or ISO on the next image.
So now, this is something not all cameras could do, but more and more cameras can have settable ISOs. This is amazing. This is the G9, and this actually has an ISO dial on the top of the camera.
Exactly, and
which shows you how important they think this is.
It's really become what they call the third dial. You really have, most people have always, affected to change your exposure. They work with shutter, they work with aperture, and ISO is now really a third dial, and to make it that prominent is a big deal. That's not been the case.
I've never seen that before. Usually you have to dig deep into the menus and change it. And usually you leave it on auto, frankly, but maybe that's not the thing to do.
Well, I like to have a little bit more control.
right.
So I switch that back and forth all the time.
Now this doesn't have a huge range. It looks like it goes from 60 or 80 to 1,000.
Well, that's a 1600. It'll go up to 1600.
1600. Oh yeah, there it is.
And
that's pretty good range.
That's the average range right now.
Now, if I shoot at 1600, why don't I just shoot at 1600 all the time?
Here, I'll show you. Actually, I have an example.
Seems like I'd be more flexible, and I just increase the shutter speed if I'm in bright light.
Right. Here's an example. Now, what I did here is I took a series of photos.
Okay.
And I stopped down. So I changed the shutter speed.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was changing the ISO.
So you increased the sensitivity, but you took a shorter exposure to make up for it. So the exposure is the same all the way.
It's relatively close.
Yeah.
And what you're going to see here is, if we're looking at it right now, that's 100. That's 100 ISO.
Okay.
Here's 200 ISO. You see how we've added some grain?
Okay.
Let me zoom in a little bit more here, and you can see it. So here's 100, 200.
Oh yeah.
400.
Oh yeah.
800.
Oh boy.
1600.
Okay.
So you see, that's what you're giving up. That's what you're giving up for that
Holy
sensitivity,
cow.
is that things start to get beat up. Now, when we zoom back out...
Yeah, because that's where way zoomed in.
But you're still looking at something that's one-to-one.
You can see it.
And you can still see that there's a lot of grain there. Now, the other thing to know is that the grain structure will be different between every camera. So... this G9, this was shot with a G9.
Okay.
And it's very grainy.
Now, that's a grainy camera,
if we jump to... This is 1600 as well.
There's Malik.
Now this is 1600 ISO.
It doesn't look grainy at all.
But that's shot with my 20D.
Okay.
So a lot of it has to do with the size of the sensor. So like when you go to a full-size sensor, for instance, each of those little sensors are going to be more sensitive because they have more surface area to work with. And all we're doing here, the reason that it looks so grainy, is all we're doing here is we're turning the gain up. So we're just gaining, we're taking the image that comes into the sensor
and just turning it up
and just cranking it up, and so that's why you're getting that grain. Now, a camera like this, like for instance,
the advantage of this is with a baby, you don't want to take a flash picture. It's going to lose its depth. It's going to flatten it out. It's going to bug the kid.
But
so this looks really good.
If you look at this, this is 1600. This is 200. This is 1600. This is 1600.
You can tell the difference, but you have to zoom in to really see it or make a big print.
But the main thing is these were all shot very close in time together. I simply just made those adjustments while I was shooting, and I'm able to shoot in all those areas. Now, if you get a bigger camera, and I think that this, not just a bigger camera, I think that this is going, ISO and the sensitivity is going to be one of the things that we pay a lot of attention to in cameras. It's more important than your megapixels.
Yeah. This is a 12 megapixel camera, but it's a smaller chip because it's a compact camera.
Which means it's grainier. I would rather, to be honest with you, I'd rather have a 6 to 8 megapixel camera and have it be grainless.
Right.
That'd be much more important to me, and I think that
I think you're right.
As people get used to it, I think that's what people we're going crazy with these megapixels. 10 megapixels, 12 megapixels, and it's not megapixels. The sensitivity of the image is going to make much more of a difference in your day-to-day shooting than the size of that image.
Well, what's interesting is Canon, Nikon, and now Sony are all shipping cameras with full-size sensors, 35mm sized sensors, all of which would look much better even at high ISOs.
Well, and some of them are really paying attention to that sensitivity. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard that, for instance, the Nikon D300D or D300 is almost grainless at 1600.
Wow.
Very little grain at 3200. Wow. And now goes up to 6400. And we're going to see more and more of this. It is going to get to a point.
Well, I mean, there's no light. You can't take a picture.
Right. But it's, I think we are going to get to a point where, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, even on these little cameras, you're going to shoot 1600 ISO and it's going to look almost as smooth as 100.
Which means you probably do it all the time and just leave it there and have that sensitivity. So something to be aware of, you should look into your camera book and see where the ISO settings are, and you might want to try different ISO settings. It is a great way to avoid using flash.
And I like to avoid flash.
Who wants to use flash?
I didn't even know if my flash worked after 2 or 3 years. I was like, I don't even know if it pops open. So,
Alex Lindsay's at the Pixel Core. That's pixelcore.com, a great place to learn about photography, 3D imaging, 2D imaging, Photoshop, and a whole lot more. And then once you've learned to get work, this is a good time to join now through June. $50. One flat fee. Whenever you sign up, sooner you sign up, the more you're going to get. Pixelcore.com. Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate it. All right, we're going to come back and talk more in just a bit with you, our callers. But first, a close-up. By the way, very low ISO close-up of something you'd find around the lab. I don't know what that is. Can you figure it out? Tell you what, we'll zoom out and we'll find out. I see a Z and an O. We'll find out when the lab, it's got to be a camera, right? When the lab continues. Well, I'll tell you what, stick around. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we showed this cheesy little plastic camera, is my guess. Well, that's close. It's the Jack Specific Eye-Clops. Actually, that's kind of neat. It's a microscope that hooks up to your TV, and you can get close-ups of all sorts of stuff like he does with his macro lens. That's Sean Carruthers, and he takes those What the Tech pictures. Now, let's get another viewer on the line here with a call. Do we have Kate?
We are going to Newport Beach in California, and we have Tom on the line.
Hey, Tom, how are you today?
Hi, nice to talk to you, Leo.
Great to talk to you. What can I do to help?
Well, you're going to get me out of a problem.
Okay.
I cannot delete the messages from my computer. The deleted items folder says I have 51 items in there. It's actually 170 items.
Uh-huh.
And the junk email folder says I have 1 item, and it's 4 items in there.
Yep.
When I try to eliminate those messages, a dialog box comes up that says message could not be displayed.
Mm-hmm.
You know the message already? Or
yep. And what happens is, and this happens with all email programs, there's a database of messages, and there's an index to the database. And if either of those gets corrupted, what happens is the program thinks there's messages there and they're not, or vice versa. And so they get out of sync. And really the solution to this is to rebuild the message database. What program do you use?
It's the Windows Vista Home Premium.
The Vista, and you're using the Vista mail that comes with it?
The Vista, yeah, the mail that comes with it.
One thing I would suggest, and Microsoft says this too, is they want you to kind of go to Windows Live Mail, which is a much improved and free version of your mail program. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is you go to, this may or may not fix the problem. When you install Windows Live Mail, it will rebuild your database, so this may fix the problem right out of the box. You go to get.live.com, and when you click this, they have a number of programs, but the one you want is the new Live Mail, which is a big improvement. Vista Mail is just, you know, kind of a rewrite of Outlook, but they've, in the meanwhile, continued to work on it, and their new mail is just an excellent, excellent program. So that might fix the problem. I would try that first. If you don't want to do it, I'm going to give you another solution, which you may or may not need to do, and that is to rebuild the mailbox. And this is a complicated, multi-step process. So there's a Microsoft support tech note that describes how to do it. It's 941090. If you go to support.microsoft.com, you'll see we've got 7 steps here, but one of the steps has 8 steps within it. If you go to support.microsoft.com and you enter in a search for 941090, you'll see this rebuild the message store of Windows Mail. What you need to do is find the Windows Mail.ms message store file. That's the database. Believe it or not, well, actually probably more like an index. Believe it or not, deleting this and then deleting any backups will force Mail to rebuild the message database. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a fresh copy, and in that one you'll have the correct number of messages, and if there's stuff you want to delete, you'll now be able to delete it. It won't be blocked. Does that make sense?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not that computer savvy.
Yeah. Well, and that's nice of Microsoft to make it so difficult. Used to be you could just open Outlook Express holding down the Option key and it would do it for you. Now you actually have to delete a file. I wish it were easier. The process is really ridiculous. You have to start Windows Mail, go to the Options dialog, click the Advanced tab, click the Maintenance button, click the Store folder button, find the store location. You have to figure out, in other words, where the messages are stored. When you figure that out, copy it, then search for it. Then when you find it, delete it. Then go to the backup folder in the new folder, delete the contents there, and then restart Windows Mail. And this is ridiculous, but this is what you need to do. I don't know of a simpler way. Well, I do, and that's the first thing I suggested, which is, and I still think this will probably solve your problem, and actually will give you a much better mail. It has spam filtering. It's just a much better mail program. Just surf to get.live.com. You can select the products you want to install. You know, you don't need to have Photo Gallery. You don't need to have Messenger or Writer or Toolbar. So you can uncheck all of those, but do leave Mail checked. It's a very simple install. Once you do it, it will take your messages from the old Vista Mail, and I'm thinking it'll rebuild. I'm pretty sure it'll rebuild that database, and so that's another way to do kind of what we need to do, which is that's what's wrong, is the database is damaged. Does that make sense, Tom? I know it's a little complicated.
All right. But the other thing, though, is I'm going to try this in getlive.com, which you say will get me the Windows Live.
That's what I would do. Okay. Microsoft's saying this is a better mail program. I agree. I use it. It's very similar. You're not going to feel at sea. It's just they've improved it. So that's what I'm going to suggest you start with, and maybe that'll fix it, which is get.live.com. You can uncheck everything else, just get Mail, or you can get the other things if you want. These are all free. They're part of Microsoft's Windows Live program, which is a great program. It's some of the best stuff Microsoft's done in years, I think. And the Mail is a big improvement, so I highly recommend it. Tom, I thank you for the call. We're going to take a walk over, say hi to Mr. Ryan Ewell. Now, see if Ryan, if you find a free program to rebuild your mail database, let us know about that. But it used to be it was an easy thing to do. Now they've made it ridiculously difficult. But it's something people have to do frequently. Now, what do you got here for us?
We're on Windows.
Yes,
and
sir.
If people have heard of or seen a photo mosaic, essentially,
I love that.
It's a picture that you can see what's going on, but inside is all these little pictures.
Isn't that fun?
They're so cool.
Yeah.
And so I found this program for Windows called Andrea Mosaic.
It makes one.
It actually can make it for you, and it's really simple. So it's a 3-step process. The first step, where are your pictures? So you just hit Find Tiles, you go create a collection, and you just...
It's best if you have a large number of photos to choose from.
Otherwise they repeat a lot. I used 49, so you're probably going to see some...
You want thousands is what you want.
You want a lot.
Yeah.
But for this, I didn't use that many. And then what you do is you can set the settings.
These would be your own photos on your hard drive.
Yes, on your local hard drive. And then you just give it the parameters of how big you want it, how many tiles, if you want repeats, if you don't want repeats.
This would be a great way to make a poster.
We're getting there.
Oh, good.
And then all you have to do is create the template. So what you want the final kind of overall picture to look like. That's really easy. You just hit Add Image and then select
So you can
that.
actually make it look like another one of your images.
Yeah, and then,
so you could like have a picture of Ryan made up of little tiny pictures of Ryan.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
We'll show you.
We're going to do one.
And then you just hit Create Mosaic, and depending on how complex, it might take like 2, 3, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But here's the end result. So here's the lab with Leo. And
now if you zoom in, you'll see
let's
these are all
zoom
pictures.
in.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's actually made up of all those pictures.
That was only 49. That actually is a pretty good result.
Yeah, there's 49 pictures, and I told it that it could not repeat more than every 3 pictures. So every 3 pictures will be a different at least. So
very cool.
You can give it all the different parameters. It's really cool.
What's the name of that?
It's called Andrea Mosaic.
I like that. And it's free, which is nice.
Free
You
for
find
Windows.
all of Ryan's jewels on the website.
Labwithleo.com. Jewels, free files. They're all there. This one, I like this one a lot. It's visual, it's easy, and it makes stuff that's really cool.
Very cool. Thank you, Ryan. Well,
Welcome.
they appreciate that. I love photo mosaic. You know, there's the Mac OS X Leopard now has a screensaver that does that automatically out of iPhotos. It's so cool. All right, coming up in just a bit, we're going to show you how to create your own generative art. It's kind of like this in a way. You'll see. With Flash, Jacob Tran, who teaches video game design at Vancouver Film School, will join us. But first, our quick quiz question of the day. Which 2 companies jointly developed the compact disc? They invented the CD. Was it Sony and Philips? I'm sorry, Sony and Toshiba, Sony and Philips, Philips and JVC, Microsoft and Apple. Think about it. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who did it a little later on as the lab continues. Stay here. Welcome back to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. Jacob Tran is here. We've had him on many times before. He is a game design instructor at Vancouver Film School. It's great to have you back, Jacob.
Pleasure, Leo.
You're going to talk us about something a little different, but related to what you do. You work a lot with Flash, I know. Generative art. What is that?
Generative art, it's art that's created using complex computer algorithms.
So it's not done by a human?
That's right. So it's generated by the computer. And for me personally, what I try to do is I work in the field I work at, I'm often programming a lot, so I'm doing a lot of technical things.
Right.
So I'll take acrylic painting at Emily Carr, for example, just to keep that balance.
Yeah, just to keep your visual life alive.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if you could combine both of those 2 loves of your life?
Cool.
You know, the whole technical aspect of programming, as well as the visual, satisfaction you get from art. So that's what generative art is to me. It's basically anything that's produced by the computer using algorithms that's visual appealing.
But it's still a human starts it off, right? A human starting off what's going on.
I mean, art is so subjective. I mean, what's art to me may not be art to you.
Right.
And what I'm going to start out showing is a piece that's called Flash Your Own Jackson Pollock. So for those people who don't know who Jackson Pollock is, he's an artist. Some don't consider him a painter. Some consider him nothing at all. And basically his technique is to take paintbrushes, dip them in paint so they're really soaked, and just run them all over the canvas. So his paintbrush never actually touches the canvas.
It's big on drips.
Yeah.
But
is he a painter, right?
You may say he's controversial, but generally considered one of the great artists of the 20th century.
Exactly. He really revolutionized what art is, right? So here's a site called jacksonpollock.org.
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, and so you can draw all across the screen, and every time you click, it changes the color palette to a random color. So you can essentially create your own Jackson Pollock.
You're still painting, it's just that the computer's helping you.
Exactly. And when you're happy with it, you can click on this heart and submit it to their site, and you can see a bunch of other people's Jackson Pollocks that they really love.
Really neat. That's jacksonpollock.org. Is that the Jackson Pollock estate, or it's just somebody who's using that name and created it's Flash, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the official Jackson Pollock site
Probably
or
isn't.
not.
Yeah.
Probably isn't.
Yeah.
But what really makes Flash a great tool for creating generative art is that it's so visual and it's so designer friendly.
Right.
So you have...
And you can write programs in it. It's not just animation. We see a lot of animation, but
Right.
it can also be programmed, and that's what that is, right?
You're right. So the scripting language is, especially if you're using AS2, is very
It's powerful enough to do that, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a bit about the technical side of how Flash works and how this is created. It's basically using something called vectored art. So all this art here is described mathematically.
Right.
And what Flash does in this second example, which is called Sakura Cherry Blossoms by...
This is beautiful.
it's by an artist named Grant Skinner, who's from Edmonton, Alberta, actually. But what Flash does is it takes this vectored art, and if it left it in vector format, by the time it drew the third tree, this laptop's processor would be
too much work.
Yeah, it'd be killing it. So what it does is it has this ability to blit it to a bitmap.
So it draws it and then copies it as a picture.
Right to the background of the
That's
bitmap,
neat.
and frees up the processor so that you can do more complex algorithms.
So this is sophisticated. Now, every time I go back here, will it be different painting?
Yes, exactly, Leo. So what this is actually doing is it's using biological algorithms of how secure cherry blossom trees grow. And so using that with Flash's random, number generator, you can create random trees every time you refresh this page.
A lot of generative art does play on that. It uses fractals and other techniques to make it look natural, make it look real. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's sort of art that is created for some kind of structure.
Right.
Sometimes you have art that is sort of the byproduct of what you're trying to produce. So this second example is by Jeremy Thorpe. And he didn't start out trying to create generative art, but when I look at it, I see art. And what it is it's called Darwinstruments. So it's a combination of Darwin and instruments.
They're evolving?
Yeah, so they're evolving. And I wish we had audio output. I should have told you guys this, but...
we'll turn it up. We might be able to hear a little bit of it. Yeah.
So basically what this is when you roll over any of these audio specimens, it basically has an audio signature associated with it. And if you enjoy that piece of audio that it's playing, you can actually select it. And when you select the two pieces of instruments that you enjoy, you can hybridize them and they create offspring.
You're right. He wasn't trying to do art here, but it came out pretty artistic. That's
exactly.
Really
so sometimes generative art is a result of experiments that people are trying to do. And what his goal here is he's trying to create essentially the ideal audio signature that sort of beats well inside you in terms of what you hear. So if you continue to hybridize, let's say to the 23rd iteration, you should have an audio file that you truly enjoy and something that speaks to what you like.
We're just going to have to send people to this site so they can do it for themselves and hear it for themselves. And
so
now
that's
it's a complicated
Jeremy Thorpe's
link, but we'll put a link in the show notes
for sure
Leo, for that.
And so I have two more examples. One is called a mesotype, and I'm going to type in the word Leo here, and I'm going to start the search. And this is really great because it sort of segues what Ryan was doing earlier.
It's like a photo mosaic?
It's a photo mosaic, but what it does is it links to a database. So it links to the Amazon.com database and pulls up everything that has the word Leo in it.
And it spells my name.
And creates the word Leo.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. And so when I was doing this yesterday, I actually saw a book here. Let's see if I can find it again. That actually had your face on it.
Yeah, probably one of my books. I've written 13. There's one over on the right. Over all the way on the right. Oh, now it's buried.
There you go. So you can actually zoom in and zoom out on it.
Oh,
and you can actually
fun.
Select that book and purchase it if you want on Amazon. So the last
That's really cool.
Yeah, so the last example I'm going to show you is something written in Java. So there's other tools that can do this.
Right.
Flash is just the most designer-friendly tool. The other two that are really popular, one is Java and the other is processing, but they require a little bit more technical knowledge to create.
Okay. What is the other one? I never heard of it.
Processing. Processing.org if you want to know more about it. And so this example here is called Thinking Machine, and it's basically computer AI. So when I move a chess piece here, it shows me what the computer is thinking. And look at this output.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Again, it's actually not supposed to be art. It's just generating traces where the computer is thinking, but it does come out beautifully, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's like weaving.
So it's showing the computer AI and what it's thinking. And
that is cool.
Again, there's a whole image gallery if you're interested in seeing what...
That's Thinking Machine, is that what that is?
Yeah, Thinking Machine.
We have a bunch of different links on this one, and I think you're going to want to go to the site and get them all, because there's a lot of very interesting, fun, pretty stuff. Isn't that cool? You can get all of this at labwithleo.com, labwithleo.com. Jacob Tran is a game design instructor and obviously an artist, too, at the Vancouver Film School. You have to be both to do that, don't you? Yeah, sure. It's a visual medium. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming in. His website is jacobtran.com. More of your calls coming up. The Lab continues right after these important short films made by great artists. Stay here.
9, 8 commercials, 7, 6, 5 commercials, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back to the Lab with Leo. I'm Kate Abraham, and now it's time for my tip of the day. And check out my mini Big Ben. Now, do you find that your kids spend too much time with video games and you want us to do more arts and crafts? papertoys.com could be the answer you are looking for. It's a really cool site. The idea is aimed at children and adults, and what it is, it has a number of templates of different things you can make. Now the cool thing is, I mean, it doesn't have to be Big Ben, although that obviously is a nice Englishism there. It can be anything. What you'll do is you'll click through, and as you can see, you get the template. And what you want to then do is print this out. Now the option you've got, it comes out on letter-sized paper, but what you could do is then enlarge it on a photocopier. And then what you do is you basically just cut out. This is the actual print that comes out. I don't know if you can see that there. So once it comes through, you can then basically just cut through that, and then you construct it, and you end up with this.
Wow, you did a nice job. That's a lot of cutting.
I think one thing you'd need to do actually is do it on card, because this is on paper, so it's a little bit flimsy, and obviously enlarge it would be kind of cool.
Well, that's
but there
really
you
cool.
go. So yeah, it's called papertoys.com.
I think kids would enjoy this. And, you know, if you built a whole bunch of them, you could have a whole town.
There are tons of things on there.
Yeah.
You can build anything you like.
Craig Surhit did that, though, not you.
He has a child. It's training for his
Give Craig
son.
credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, Craig spent the morning doing this for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's good.
There you go. So there we go. Papertoys.com.
Thank you, Kay. Now, you got a call for me?
I do. We're heading down to Melbourne, Victoria, and we have David.
Great. Hi, David.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you, mate?
I'm wonderful. G'day, mate. How you going?
Good day. Wait, we got to do the... Do people in Australia really say that?
No, only to Americans.
I know it. It's just one of those things, right? And I know you don't drink Foster's Lager, so there you go.
We export that.
What can I do to help you today?
Yeah, Leo, first of all, I want to congratulate you. Great show. Call for Help was great before it, and all your podcasts. You've been keeping me going for quite a long time. So
David, you're the greatest. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No worries. So, yeah, what I'm trying to do, we're a Mac household. I've got two Macs, a laptop and a main iMac on a network.
Okay.
And I'm trying to look for a backup solution initially, and then maybe a media solution, service solution later. But mainly, what's available for Macs is a little bit limited. A lot of the NAS-type solutions, a lot of the RAID-type solutions are a bit limited. I've been looking at online, but the one problem I have with the online is getting the uploads isn't a problem, but internet access is relatively expensive in Australia, and to stay within my limit, it'd take me about a year to restore, which defeats the purpose of having a backup in the first place.
Yeah. So, no kidding. But you know, you're on the right track, because really I don't think you're backed up unless you've got really two. You've got the local backup, which is quick and easy to make. And for that, an external hard drive is fine. You don't have to go crazy with that. They're inexpensive, they're fast, and that's really key. You want to be able to do something that's very quickly. And then, that's not enough, because what if you have an earthquake, a fire, a flood? Your backups are right next to your computer. You're going to lose both. So it's very important to have off-site backup, something you take with you. Now, it could be a very simple thing that you could do is to have two external hard drives and take one to work every week. That's fast, it's easy, it's simple, and you're guaranteed never to lose more than a week's worth of data. You mentioned online backup, and it does sound like that's not a good solution for you. I use online backup all the time, and there are a lot of different ways to do this. There's Mozy.com, M-O-Z-Y.com, which is Mac and Windows friendly, Carbonite.com, which is Windows friendly. There's also something called Jungle Disk, which is kind of neat, which uses the very inexpensive Amazon S3 storage, and you can back up to that. But since your data is not widely and easily available by download, I think you're absolutely right. This would be a bad idea. So let's just get two external, or maybe more, 3 external hard drives, and swap them out. Bring one to work or somewhere else. Home if it's at work. And by doing so, I think you're gonna keep it'll be easy. I mean, if backing up isn't easy, then you won't do it, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, nobody will do it. Now, I'm going to show you a great Mac program that I use called ChronoSync. It's from Econ Technologies, ChronoSync. Now, the advantage of ChronoSync is this is a little program that will run in the background all the time. If your external drive is plugged in, it'll make sure. I copy just the home folder, by the way. I don't copy applications. I don't copy the operating system, just the home folder. I have my home folder backed up to an external drive. ChronoSync does it automatically, so you don't have to think about it. It just makes a simple copy. By the way, only $30, which I like. It just makes a simple copy. It doesn't use any special fancy, a database or anything like that. And I like that because what that means is you can restore right from your external hard drive when something goes bad. There's another great program for the Mac called Super Duper. They will soon be Leopard compatible. As of this taping, they are not. But once Super Duper from Shirt Pocket is Leopard compatible, that would be another excellent choice. Same idea, automatic backup. The advantage of Super Duper is it's bootable. So if your hard drive dies, you can boot from that external drive and you're exactly where you want to be. You haven't lost anything. But the key is get a couple of these, rotate them out. Get one off site, and you'll be fine. That's the simplest, easiest way to do it, and it always works.
Sounds great. Thanks, Leo.
David, great to talk to you.
I've got a quick request suggestion.
Yes.
Any chance of doing a review or getting some of the guys online from Linux MCE?
Yeah.
Doing a Linux version of a media center, runs on Kubuntu.
That's, you know what? We have some great Linux guys. We'll give them an assignment to show us how to build a Linux MCE system. That's actually a very, very good idea, something I've wanted to do for a while.
Something I'm looking at doing, so I'd love to get your input.
Deal. David, thank you for the input. We love hearing your suggestions.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Leo.
Take care, David.
Might talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Come to Australia.
Yeah. I'm coming to Tasmania, I think, in April, but I'll let you know the details. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to show you how to be an invisible man. Rick Yeager will show you a very cool Photoshop technique. You stay here for that. But before we go, one more chance to take our daily quiz of the day. Our question today is... What is the question today? Which two companies jointly developed the compact disc? Was it Sony and Toshiba, Sony and Philips, Philips and JVC, or Microsoft and Apple? Huh? I know the answer. Do you? Tell you what, stick around. We'll tell you when the lab continues. Welcome back to the break. Welcome back from the break to the lab. Which two companies jointly developed the CD? It was Sony and Philips. Philips actually owns the name CD. In fact, recently, they said, we're going to pull the name CD. We're not going to allow you to call it an official compact disc if you put copy protection on it. Right on, Philips, right on. Stick it to the man. I don't think Sony would have said that. No. I think Sony's notorious for copy protection. Hey, look who's here, Mr. Rick Yeager, the Mac Merc.
Me.
A very talented Photoshop artist. He did some great graphics for Leoville you were just showing me. I'm really excited about that for my website.
Show you those after this.
Cool. But we're going to now learn a little Photoshop technique he calls the invisible man.
Well, I got the idea from this website, filmwise.com. Have you ever been there?
No.
Okay, they've got all kinds of little movie trivia things going on. One of their games is called The Invisibles. And they take a screenshot of a movie, and they take the human part out of...
that's interesting. And then is it like a game you have to identify?
Yeah, and you have to identify them, and if you score high, you get mentioned on the side.
It's kind of creepy. It looks like the Headless Horseman.
Right, and every so often they have user-submitted ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you with Dr. Tiki.
Here's how you do it.
How you might do a user-submitted one.
This is from Photoshop, in Photoshop.
In Photoshop. First thing you want to do is kind of strategize. I'm going to make Dr. Tiki invisible. I'm going to leave you as is.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Okay, so you see here with my outlines, I want to fill these areas with...
How painstaking do you have to do that?
Well, for a website like that, not too painstaking.
Okay.
So you want to get rid of his hands, get rid of his head, and just leave this spot in here. So you do that by cloning. And everyone loves cloning. So I'm going to show you first how to get rid of his hands.
Okay.
And you don't, like you said, you don't have to be too painstaking because we're going to clean it up. The clone tool allows you to sample the current layer and below, or all layers at once. So this allows me to put my strategy layer above my clone layer, and say, okay, I want to sample this gene area.
Look at that.
And I don't have to be too clean because what I'm going to do immediately after this.
So you're cloning the gene over his hand.
Yeah, it looks horrible, but what you can do after that is take the heal tool, sample the same area, and go over it again.
It kind of smooths it out.
And it makes it all birdie.
Look at that. It actually looks pretty real. You have to be, if you do short strokes like that, though, sometimes you get the little, So
right.
But you gotta mix it up.
Yeah, you got to mix it up and use that heal and clone together, and in the end you get something like...
When he took some time...
When I took some
time... It looked like...
It looked like that. Oh, that's a little too far.
That looked like a neck beard.
There we go.
There. Wow, you chopped his head off.
Chopped his head off as well.
So what you cloned is the shelf, and you need to do that because you don't know what's behind his head.
Yeah,
so
you have to make that
shelf.
up.
Yeah.
And I choose a rather difficult image because it's got all kinds of little tchotchkes and knickknacks.
You'd like a regular image behind that if you
just
could.
brick wall or something would be great.
Yeah.
So the next step is to fill in the inner clothing.
The inner clothing.
The inner clothing. It's like the inner child, but not quite.
His hands are gone.
His hands are gone.
Kind of creepy.
And we take a spot of the fabric right there.
Okay.
I'm going to copy merged, which allows me to copy through all the layers.
Okay, all the layers are now copied.
And I paste, and you see nothing because it pastes it right on top of the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I select that again, it allows me to not only move it to where I want it, but if I hold down the Option key or the Alt key on the PC,
make many copies.
Makes many copies without making many layers, which can that be annoying.
Okay.
So we want that one layer.
He's looking more and more like Claude Rains. Okay.
Yeah. And again, we're going to use the heel tool to clean up some of these edges. And then we mask. And the way I like to mask is to paint in rather than paint out.
Oh, interesting. So you could go the other way, where you like with a history brush kind of.
Right. I like to paint along the outside.
It's easier, huh?
Because I know what I want to show.
Right.
But it's harder to guess where everything is. And then once I'm done, how are we doing for time?
You got 30 seconds.
Okay.
Is that enough?
It's enough to show. Basically, I can fill that.
Now we would heal the edges. Probably,
heal the edges, and then I can.
Oh, I see. That's supposed to be the back of the shirt.
Right.
I guess if he's disappeared, you'd see the back of his shirt.
Right. And in the end, if I can get it to show, you would see.
Oh, you even added a label.
You add a label.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, if you check the show notes.
You shaded it a little bit.
Shade it with the dodge and burn tools and add the label and some of the stitching.
You said that to Dr. Tiki. I think he'd be freaked out.
I did say it. Send it to him.
And what did he say?
Said you rock, Rick. So he's very supportive.
That's creepy as hell is what I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did it to him, not me. All the details in the show notes. You could do this step by step. You want to do another? Show us something real quick, or you look anxious.
No,
you look
I'm
like
good.
you haven't finished.
No,
finished?
I'm good. I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
MacMerc.com. That's the place.
Yes.
If you want to find out more, he does tutorials like this all the time. They're really cool. And of course, the show notes have the step-by-step for this one. Thank you, Rick, Mr. MacMerc.
Very welcome.
We appreciate it. We'll be back with a final word right after this. Don't disappear. Don't be like that. Don't be that guy. There's a party going on in that control room. I don't know what they're laughing about in there. It's probably laughing at us.
Probably.
Did I do the whole show with my fly down?
Exactly.
That has happened. I'm not going to tell you which show, so you can't go back and look.
Nice.
Nothing was revealed. Nothing was revealed. It's just, because let's not get into it.
That's a whole different part.
It's a whole different kind of a show. I hope you enjoyed episode 174. I certainly did. We thank you so much for stopping by. We do remind you, we'd like to get your calls from all over the world. And we had some great calls today from Australia and the States. How can they get involved?
Go to lapidleo.com/tech questions. This form's there. Just fill that in, then we'll get you on the show. We'll use your Skype, which would be great because we do love the webcams.
Yeah. The more we can see, the better.
Yeah, and no question too simple, too hard.
Nope. Well, why do you do that?
I keep
to me?
challenging you.
There are questions that are too hard. Don't ask those. The simple ones, please.
The really tough ones are the best.
You can find Kate's blog there, Sean's blog there, lots of show notes. It's a great website, labwithleo.com. We do thank you for being here. Tell your friends. We'll see you next time. Lab.